The alarm rang through every city on Earth at the same time. People looked up at the sky and saw them. 400 ships hung in the darkness above the planet like metal vultures. They were massive, each one the size of a small city. The ships did not move. They just waited. Admiral Do-hyun stood in the command center in Geneva, watching the screens. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in 3 wars during his life. He had seen terrible things, but he had never seen anything like this. Behind him, dozens of officers rushed around, talking in urgent voices. Everyone was afraid. The transmission came through at exactly noon. Every television, every phone, every computer screen on Earth showed the same image. A tall alien stood before them. His skin was dark, purple, and his eyes glowed red. He wore armor made of black metal. Behind him, thousands of soldiers stood in perfect rows. "I am High Prelate Korvath of the Vralan Imperium," the alien said. His voice was deep and cold. "We have conquered 47 worlds. We have defeated armies beyond counting. Now we come to Earth. You have 72 hours to surrender. If you do not, we will destroy your cities. We will burn your lands. We will erase your species from existence." Do-hyun watched the screen without expression. Other officers around him began to panic. Some shouted, some made phone calls, some just stood frozen in fear. But Do-hyun remained calm. He had been waiting for this moment his entire career. Korvath continued speaking. "We are warriors. We believe in honor and strength. We will give you a chance to fight. Send your armies to meet ours on the battlefield. We will land 1 million soldiers on your world. If you defeat them, we will leave. If you lose, you will serve the Imperium forever." The transmission ended. The room exploded with noise. Everyone was talking at once. The President of the United Nations appeared on another screen, her face pale with worry. "Admiral Do-hyun," she said, "what do we do?" Do-hyun smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in years. "We prepare to give them exactly what they want. Madam President, a fight." Captain Nari entered the command center. She was young, only 30 years old, but she was one of the best tactical officers in the fleet. She had graduated top of her class in military strategy. She understood war in ways that others did not. "Admiral," she said, "I have been analyzing the Vralan broadcasts. I have also been studying the recordings of their previous invasions." "And?" Do-hyun asked. "They always fight the same way," Nari explained. She pulled up images on the main screen. They showed Vralan soldiers fighting on other worlds. They use energy shields and energy blades. They fight in close combat. They believe in honor and personal combat. They march in formation and meet their enemies face to face. Do-hyun nodded slowly. "They fight like ancient warriors." "Exactly," Nari said. "They have conquered 47 worlds, but every world they fought used similar tactics. Energy weapons, close-range combat, honor duels. They have never faced an enemy that fights differently." Dr. Hana rushed into the room. She was the chief xenobiologist, responsible for studying alien life forms. She carried a tablet filled with data. "Admiral, I have completed my analysis," she said breathlessly. "The Vralan shields are impressive, but they have a fatal weakness." Everyone in the room turned to look at her. "Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and absorb energy-based attacks," Hana continued. "But they do nothing against kinetic projectiles. Nothing against physical objects traveling at high speed." "Anna," Do-hyun's smile grew wider. "You mean bullets?" "Bullets, shells, missiles, anything physical," Hana confirmed. "Their shields would be useless against our weapons." Nari pulled up more data. In all their battles, they never faced projectile weapons beyond primitive firearms. The species they conquered had all moved past kinetic weapons centuries ago. They use plasma and energy weapons exclusively. "But we never stopped using bullets," Do-hyun said quietly. "We just made them better." The room fell silent. Everyone began to understand. The Vralans were coming to fight a war they knew how to win. But they had no idea what kind of enemy waited for them on Earth. Do-hyun turned to his staff. Begin preparations. I want artillery positioned around the Australian outback. I want air support ready to launch from every base in the region. I want satellite coverage and drone surveillance. Contact the Navy. I want submarines ready to launch if their fleet tries anything. Sir, one officer said nervously. Should we not negotiate? Should we not try to avoid war? Do-hyun shook his head. They came here expecting an easy victory. They came here to conquer us, like they conquered the others. We will teach them something new. We will teach them what happens when you threaten humanity. Over the next 72 hours, Earth prepared. Military forces moved into position under cover of darkness. Artillery batteries were hidden in valleys and behind hills. Fighter jets were armed and ready. Submarines moved into strategic positions in the ocean. Satellite weapons systems powered up for the first time. The world held its breath. Korvath sent another message after 48 hours. We are pleased you have not surrendered. We will land our forces in the great desert of your southern continent. We will give you time to gather your armies. We fight with honor. We expect you to do the same. In the command center, Do-hyun watched the message with cold eyes. Nari stood beside him. They think we will meet them with swords and shields, she said. Let them think that. Do-hyun replied. Let them land. Let them march their million soldiers into the open desert. Then we will show them what war really means. Dr. Hana approached with final reports. Admiral, their biology confirms they have excellent vision but only at normal distances. Their hearing is actually worse than ours. They have no natural ability to detect threats from long range. They are warriors built for close combat, Do-hyun said. Honor combat. Face to face. Yes, Hana confirmed. They will be completely unprepared for modern human warfare. As the deadline approached, Do-hyun gave his final orders. All forces are to maintain complete radio silence. No movement during daylight. No visible preparations. When they land, we wait, we watch, and when I give the order, we turn their battlefield into a shooting gallery. The 72 hours ended. High Prelate Korvath sent his final message. The time has come. We descend now. Prepare your warriors, humans. Today you learn the price of defiance. Do-hyun watched the Vralin ships begin their descent toward Australia. He picked up the communication device and spoke to all Earth forces. Remember your training. Remember your orders. They came here expecting glory. We will give them something else. We will give them a lesson they will never forget. All units stand ready. Wait for my command. The invasion of Earth had begun. But the Vralins had no idea what was waiting for them below. The Vralin ships descended through the atmosphere like falling stars. The sky over central Australia filled with fire as hundreds of landing craft broke through the clouds. The sun was rising, painting the desert red and gold. It would have been beautiful if it were not so terrifying. Colonel Johan watched from a hidden bunker 40 kilometers away. He was in charge of the ground forces for this operation. He had spent his entire career preparing for invasions. But this was different. This time, the enemy was coming to them. This time, they had chosen the battlefield. And they had chosen poorly. Sir, the first ships are landing, Lieutenant Suman reported. She was the drone warfare specialist, controlling hundreds of small surveillance drones scattered across the desert. They are coming down in the exact location they specified, Johan nodded. The Vralins had announced exactly where they would land. They had even given the coordinates. They wanted humanity to know where to find them. They wanted a fair fight. How many so far? Johan asked. 200 ships landed. More coming every minute, Sumin said, watching her screens. Sir, they are in perfect formation. They are forming ranks as they land. Through the drone cameras, Johan watched the alien army take shape. The Vralin soldiers poured out of their landing craft in organized groups. They wore dark armor that gleamed in the morning sun. Each soldier carried an energy blade that glowed blue. They formed lines that stretched across the desert floor, perfectly straight, perfectly organized. They fight like soldiers from ancient times, Sergeant Taeyang said. He was the leader of the sniper teams, positioned in the hills surrounding the landing zone. Like they are preparing for a battle from Earth's history books. More ships landed. The Vralan army grew larger and larger. 10,000 soldiers. 50,000. 100,000. They kept coming. The landing went on for 2 hours. By the time it was finished, 1,000,000 Vralan soldiers stood in formation on the desert floor. It was the largest army assembled in one place in human history, and they were all enemies. High Prelate Korvath was the last to land. His ship touched down in the center of the formation. He stepped out wearing golden armor, much brighter than his soldiers. He carried a massive energy blade, twice as long as the others. He was their leader, and he wanted everyone to know it. Korvath walked to the front of his army. Behind him, banners were raised. Strange music began to play from speakers on the ships. It was their war music, meant to inspire fear and respect. The sound echoed across the empty desert. In the command bunker, Dr. Hana listened to the music and analyzed it. "It is ceremonial," she said. "Every invasion they conduct begins this way. It is part of their culture. They believe war should be beautiful and honorable. Then they have much to learn about human war," Colonel Johann said coldly. Korvath raised his blade high. The music stopped. 1,000,000 soldiers fell silent. The desert became quiet. Only the wind made any sound. Then Korvath spoke. His voice was amplified somehow, carrying across the desert. "Humans, we have come as we promised. We stand before you, 1,000,000 warriors of the Vralan Imperium. Send forth your armies. Let us begin this battle with honor. Let us test our strength against yours." He waited. His soldiers waited. They all stared toward the horizon, expecting to see human armies marching toward them. They expected soldiers with weapons. They expected a fight, but the horizon remained empty. Minutes passed, still nothing. The Vralans began to look confused. Some soldiers turned to each other, speaking in their alien language. Officers shouted orders to maintain formation. But the humans did not come. Korvath shouted again. "Humans, are you cowards? Do you hide in fear? Show yourselves. Face us with honor." Still, nothing moved on the horizon. The desert was empty except for the alien army. In the command center in Geneva, Admiral Do Hyun watched through satellite feeds. He could see the entire alien army from space, 1,000,000 soldiers standing in neat formations, waiting for an enemy that would never come. Not in the way they expected. Captain Nari stood beside him. "They look confused," she observed. "Good," Do Hyun said. "Confusion is the first step. Fear comes next." He opened a communication channel that would broadcast to the Vralan army. When he spoke, his voice came from speakers on their own ships, hacked by human technology. "High Prelate Korvath," Do Hyun said calmly. "You wanted war. We will give you war. But we do not fight with honor. We do not fight with ceremony. We fight to win. And we fight on our terms, not yours." Korvath spun around, searching for the source of the voice. "Where are you, human? Show yourself. Fight like a warrior." "We are everywhere," Do Hyun replied. "And we are nowhere. You are standing exactly where we want you. In the open. Exposed. Visible. You have made this very easy for us." "What madness is this?" Korvath shouted. "What kind of warrior speaks but does not fight?" "The kind that survives," Do Hyun said. Then he closed the channel. He turned to his command staff. "All units. This is Admiral Do Hyun. You are authorized to engage. Show them what humanity has learned about war." 40 kilometers away, Colonel Johann received the order. He had been waiting for this moment. He had prepared for this moment. He turned to his artillery commander. "Major Junho, you may fire when ready." Major Junho stood in the artillery control center, surrounded by computer screens showing targeting data. He had 300 artillery pieces under his command. Howitzers, rocket launchers, railguns, All of them were aimed at the desert where 1 million aliens stood in perfect formations. All batteries, acquire targets, Junho said calmly. Prepare to fire. The artillery crews worked quickly. They had practiced this 1,000 times. Every gun was aimed at a specific section of the alien army. The computers calculated distances, wind speed, trajectories. Everything was perfect. All batteries report ready, an officer said. Junho took a deep breath. Fire. The desert erupted with thunder. 300 artillery pieces fired at once. The sound was incredible. Like the earth itself was tearing apart. Shells flew through the air. Traveling at supersonic speeds, they arced up into the sky, then fell like metal rain toward the Vralan army. The aliens saw the shells coming. They pointed up at the sky, shouting warnings. They activated their energy shields, confident they would be protected. The first shells landed among the front ranks of the Vralan army. The explosions were massive. Fire and shrapnel ripped through the alien soldiers. The energy shields did nothing. The kinetic force of the explosions tore through them like they were not even there. Hundreds died in the first second. Thousands died in the first minute. The Vralans screamed. They had never experienced anything like this. Their shields had always protected them. But against human artillery, they were completely defenseless. More shells landed. Each explosion killed dozens of soldiers. The perfect formations broke apart as aliens ran in every direction, trying to escape, but there was nowhere to run. The shells kept falling. Korvath watched in horror as his army died around him. "What is this?" he screamed. "What weapon is this?" A shell landed 20 meters from him, throwing him to the ground. His golden armor was scorched. His blade fell from his hand. He looked around and saw his soldiers dying. He saw bodies torn apart by explosions. He saw the ground covered with purple blood. "Retreat," he shouted. "Back to the ships. Retreat." But the shells kept falling. The human artillery did not stop. It was precise, calculated, merciless. In the command bunker, Colonel Johann watched the destruction through drone cameras. Lieutenant Suman's drones circled high above the battlefield, recording everything. "Death count?" Johann asked. "Estimated 60,000 in the first 5 minutes, Suman reported. "The artillery is incredibly effective." "Good," Johann said. "Tell Major Junho to continue firing. And contact Wing Commander Dahe. Tell her the air support is cleared to begin their runs." "Yes, sir," Suman replied. Johann watched as the Vralan army tried to flee. They ran toward their ships, leaving their wounded behind. They abandoned their weapons and their honor. They just wanted to survive. But the real battle had not even begun yet. The artillery was just the opening move. Humanity had so much more to show them. In space above Earth, the Vralan fleet watched the slaughter. They saw their ground forces being destroyed. They began to panic. Some ships moved toward the atmosphere, trying to provide support. Admiral Do-hyun saw them moving. "They are trying to help their soldiers," he said. "Should we engage the fleet?" Captain Nari asked. Do-hyun nodded. "Yes. Show them that our reach extends beyond the ground. Show them that nowhere is safe." The battle for Earth had truly begun. And the aliens were learning a terrible lesson about human warfare. The artillery had been firing for 15 minutes. The desert floor was covered with craters and bodies. Smoke filled the air, thick and black. The Vralan army was in complete chaos. Soldiers ran in every direction, screaming, trying to find safety that did not exist. High Prelate Korvath stumbled through the smoke. His golden armor cracked and blackened. He had lost his weapon. He had lost his dignity. Around him, his soldiers died by the hundreds. Some were torn apart by explosions. Others were crushed by debris from their own damaged ships. The perfect formations were gone. The proud army was broken. "Where are they?" Korvath shouted to his officers. "Where is the enemy? Why can we not see them?" An officer tried to respond, but an explosion cut him off. The blast threw both of them to the ground. When Korvath looked up, the officer was gone. Just pieces. In the sky above, Wing Commander Dahi led her squadron of fighter jets toward the battlefield. She flew at 15,000 meters, far above the smoke and fire. Her aircraft was sleek and fast, loaded with precision missiles. Behind her, 40 more jets flew in perfect formation. "All aircraft, this is Wing Commander Dahi," she said over the radio. "We have visual on the target zone. Begin attack runs. Remember, we stay high. We stay fast. We do not give them a chance to shoot back." The jets split into groups. Each group selected a different part of the Vralan army to attack. The targeting computers locked onto clusters of alien soldiers. Red boxes appeared on Dahie's display, marking targets. "Target acquired," she said. "Fox 3. She pressed the button. A missile dropped from her jet, ignited its engine, and streaked toward the ground. The missile was smart. It had its own computer, its own sensors. It could think for itself. It adjusted its path as it fell, making sure it would hit exactly where it was supposed to. The missile struck a group of Vralan soldiers trying to board a landing craft. The explosion was precise and devastating. The ship broke apart. Everyone near it died instantly. All across the sky, 40 jets launched their missiles. Hundreds of explosives rained down on the alien army. Each one found its target. Each one killed dozens. Korvath watched the sky with disbelieving eyes. He saw the jets, high above, unreachable. He saw the missiles falling like shooting stars. His soldiers tried to shoot back with their energy weapons, but the range was too far. The beams of energy dissipated in the air, reaching less than a kilometer up. The human jets were 3 times higher than that. "We cannot fight this," one of his commanders said, his voice shaking with fear. "We cannot even see them until they kill us. Sound the retreat," Korvath ordered. "Get everyone to the ships. We leave this cursed world." But the retreat was not organized. It was panic. Vralan soldiers abandoned their weapons and ran. They pushed each other aside, trying to reach the landing craft. Many ships were damaged or destroyed. There was not enough room for everyone. Major Junho watched the chaos from his artillery position. "They are trying to escape," he reported to Colonel Johann. "Do not let them," Johann replied. "Continue firing. Focus on their ships. Destroy their ability to leave." Junho adjusted his targeting. The artillery shifted its aim toward the Vralan landing craft. Shells began to strike the ships directly. The vessels were tough, but not tough enough. Their hulls cracked, their engines exploded. One by one, the landing craft became useless metal. Lieutenant Suman controlled her drones, watching everything from multiple angles. She saw the Vralan soldiers trapped on the ground, their escape route destroyed. She saw them huddle together, trying to hide from weapons they could not fight. "Colonel," Suman said, "I am detecting something new. Some of the Vralans are trying to dig into the ground. They are attempting to create shelter." "Then we use the bunker busters," Johann said. "Contact the bomber wing." High above the battlefield, a single large aircraft flew in slow circles. It was a heavy bomber, built to carry massive weapons. The pilot received Johann's orders and adjusted course. "Deploying thermobaric weapons," the pilot announced. The bomber opened its bay. Large cylinders fell out, tumbling through the air. They were thermobaric bombs, also called fuel-air explosives. They were designed to kill everything in a wide area, even targets hiding underground. The bombs fell toward the clusters of Vralan soldiers. When they hit the ground, they did not explode immediately. First, they released a cloud of flammable gas that spread across the area. The gas seeped into holes, into cracks, into any space where soldiers might hide. Then the gas ignited. The explosion was unlike anything else. It was not just fire. It was a wave of pressure that crushed everything. The blast wave traveled faster than sound. It destroyed buildings, collapsed tunnels, and killed anything with lungs. The Vralans who survived the fire died from the pressure. Their internal organs liquefied. When the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but scorched earth. Korvath had found shelter inside a damaged ship. He watched through a cracked view screen as the thermobaric weapons detonated. He saw his soldiers simply disappear in the fire. He realized, with absolute certainty, that his army was being destroyed. Not defeated. Destroyed. "Contact the fleet," he ordered. "Tell them we need immediate evacuation. Tell them to send every available ship." His communication officer tried to make the call, but the signal was jammed. Human electronic warfare had blocked all Vralin transmissions. They could not call for help. They could not coordinate. They were alone. In orbit above Earth, the Vralin fleet commander made his own decision. He saw what was happening on the ground. He saw his army being massacred. He ordered 3 ships to descend and provide covering fire. The 3 Vralin warships entered the atmosphere. They were massive vessels, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city. They descended toward Australia, preparing to fire on the human positions. Admiral Do-hyun watched them come. "Captain Nari, activate the orbital defense network." Nari pressed a series of commands. All around Earth, satellites that had been dormant suddenly came to life. They were weapon satellites, positioned in orbit decades ago. Each one carried laser weapons designed to destroy incoming missiles. But they worked just as well against alien ships. The satellites rotated, aiming their weapons at the descending Vralin ships. Targeting lasers painted the alien vessels. "Fire," Do-hyun ordered. Beams of concentrated light lanced through space. They were invisible in the vacuum, but when they hit the Vralin ships, the effect was immediate. The lasers cut through the alien hulls like knives through paper. They found fuel tanks, reactors, ammunition stores. The first Vralin ship exploded while still in the upper atmosphere. The fireball was visible from the ground. The second ship tried to retreat, but more lasers found it. Its engines died, and it began to fall, tumbling out of control. It crashed into the ocean 1,000 kilometers from Australia. The third ship managed to turn around and retreat back into orbit, badly damaged and leaking atmosphere. The remaining Vralin fleet watched this happen. They saw how easily Earth's defenses destroyed their ships. They began to move away from the planet, seeking safety in higher orbit. "Sir," Captain Nari said, "the Vralin fleet is retreating." "Let them watch," Do-hyun replied. "Let them see what happens to their ground forces. Let them understand what it means to threaten Earth." On the ground, the battle continued. Wing Commander Dahe made her 3rd pass over the battlefield. She was running low on missiles, but she still had her cannon. The autocannon fired depleted uranium rounds at incredible speed. Each bullet could punch through armor. She dove low, strafing a group of Vralin soldiers trying to regroup. The bullets tore through them. There was no defense against it. Their shields did nothing. Sergeant Taeyong and his sniper teams finally got their chance. The smoke had cleared enough to see individual targets. Taeyong looked through his scope and found a Vralin officer, recognizable by his decorated armor. "Target acquired," Taeyong whispered. He controlled his breathing, slowed his heartbeat, and squeezed the trigger gently. The rifle fired. The bullet traveled 3 kilometers in less than 3 seconds. It struck the Vralin officer in the head. The alien's helmet did nothing to stop it. He fell dead. Taeyong's spotter marked the kill. Confirmed. Moving to next target. All across the hills surrounding the battlefield, sniper teams did the same work. They killed officers, communication specialists, anyone who looked important. The Vralin army lost its command structure, piece by piece. By the time the sun reached its peak, the battle was over. Of the 1 million Vralin soldiers who had landed, more than 800,000 were dead. The rest were scattered across the desert, hiding, wounded, or running blindly. Colonel Johan surveyed the destruction through his cameras. "Cease fire," he ordered. "All units, cease fire. Let the survivors think about what happened here." The guns fell silent. The jets returned to base. The desert became quiet again, except for the moans of wounded aliens and the crackle of burning ships. Korvath lay in the wreckage of his command ship, surrounded by dead officers. He was wounded but alive. He stared at the ceiling, unable to comprehend what had happened. His proud army, his 1,000,000 warriors, destroyed in less than an hour. He heard Admiral Dohyun's voice again, broadcast across the battlefield. High Prelate Korvath, if you can hear this, know that we used only a fraction of our military strength today. This was not a battle. This was a demonstration. Tell your empire what you learned here. Tell them what happens when you threaten humanity. 25. Korvath closed his eyes. He had learned, they had all learned, but the lesson had cost them everything. The desert was quiet now. Smoke drifted across the sand, carrying the smell of burning metal and flesh. The artillery had stopped. The jets had returned to base. But the battle was not over. Nearly 200,000 Vralen soldiers still lived, scattered across hundreds of square kilometers. They were hiding, wounded, desperate. And humanity was coming for them. Sergeant Taeyang moved through the rocky hills with his sniper team. There were 4 of them, all experts in hunting. They moved silently, using the terrain for cover. They had thermal imaging goggles that let them see heat signatures through smoke and darkness. Every Vralen soldier glowed bright purple on their screens. "Contact," whispered Private Minho, Taeyang's spotter. 300 meters, behind those rocks, 4 targets. Taeyang settled into position, resting his rifle on a flat stone. Through his scope, he could see 4 Vralen soldiers huddled together. They had removed their armor, probably thinking it made them too visible. They were wrong. It just made them easier to kill. "Wind is negligible," Minho reported. "Range 3 to 5 meters, clear shot." Taeyang aimed carefully. He fired once. 1 alien fell. The others jumped up in panic, looking around wildly. They could not see where the shot came from. Taeyang fired again. Another fell. The remaining 2 ran. Taeyang tracked them calmly, leading the target slightly. 2 more shots. 2 more bodies. 4 confirmed kills, Minho said, marking their position on the tactical map. Moving to next sector. This scene repeated across the entire region. Dozens of sniper teams hunted the survivors. The Vralans had nowhere to hide. Human technology could see them through walls, through smoke, through darkness, and human marksmen never missed. In the air above, attack helicopters joined the hunt. Lieutenant Suman directed them using her drones. The helicopters flew low and fast, their sensors scanning the ground for movement. "Helicopter 3. This is Drone Command," Suman said over the radio. "I have 15 targets in a ravine, at grid reference Delta 7. They appear to be setting up a defensive position." "Copy that, Drone Command," the helicopter pilot replied. Moving to engage. The helicopter tilted forward and accelerated. It approached the ravine from the side, where the Vralans could not see it coming. The pilot activated the weapon systems. A targeting computer locked onto each alien soldier automatically. "Engaging with missiles," the pilot announced. Small rockets streaked from the helicopter's weapon pods. They were designed to kill light vehicles, but they worked perfectly against unarmored alien soldiers. The missiles struck with precision. Explosions echoed through the ravine. When the smoke cleared, nothing moved. 15 confirmed kills, the pilot reported. Continuing patrol, Colonel Johann coordinated the hunt from his command bunker. He watched dozens of screens showing different parts of the battlefield. Each screen showed human forces systematically eliminating alien survivors. It was efficient. It was methodical. It was war the way humans had perfected it over thousands of years. "Sir," one of his officers said, "we are detecting movement toward the original landing zone. It appears some Vralans are trying to reach their damaged ships. Send ground forces to intercept," Johann ordered. "Use the mechanized infantry. Show them what happens when they try to run." 6 kilometers away, a company of mechanized infantry moved into position. They rode in armored vehicles equipped with automatic cannons and missile launchers. Each vehicle carried 8 soldiers in powered armor. The soldiers were trained for urban combat, but hunting scattered aliens was even easier. The convoy stopped on a ridge overlooking a valley. Through their optics, they could see a large group of Vralans moving toward a crashed landing craft. There were at least 100 aliens, maybe more, Captain Murray commanded the company. She studied the situation and made her decision quickly. Half the vehicles will provide covering fire. The other half will move forward and engage directly. Keep them pinned between us and the wreckage. The vehicles split into two groups. The first group opened fire with their cannons. High explosive rounds tore into the alien formation. The Vralans scattered. Some running forward. Some running back. That was the plan. Captain Murray's second group drove forward, cutting off their escape. The powered armor soldiers dismounted from their vehicles. They looked like metal giants, each one standing over 2 meters tall. Their armor made them stronger and faster than any normal human. They carried rifles that fired armor-piercing rounds. The Vralan soldiers tried to fight back. They charged with their energy blades, thinking close combat might give them a chance. It did not. The powered armor soldiers simply raised their rifles and fired. The bullets punched through Vralan armor and bodies. The aliens fell in waves. One brave Vralan managed to get close to a human soldier. He swung his energy blade at the armored figure. The blade struck the armor and bounced off, doing no damage. The human grabbed the alien by the throat with one armored hand and lifted him off the ground. "Your weapons are useless here," the soldier said through his helmet speaker. Then he threw the alien 20 meters into a rock wall. The fight lasted less than 5 minutes. Every Vralan in the valley died. The human soldiers had 0 casualties. They did not even have minor injuries. Captain Murray surveyed the scene and reported to Colonel Johann. Target group eliminated. Moving to next sector. Number 5. Acknowledged, Johann replied. Good work. While the ground forces hunted survivors, a different battle was happening in orbit. The Vralan fleet had retreated to a safe distance, but they could not leave their soldiers behind completely. 3 ships tried to provide evacuation support, descending toward the atmosphere to pick up survivors. Admiral Do-hyun watched them approach. He was in communication with Commander Hyun-woo, who commanded a submarine fleet in the Pacific Ocean. "Commander, you have 3 targets entering the atmosphere," Do-hyun said. "They are attempting to evacuate their ground forces." "Understood, Admiral," Hyun-woo replied from his submarine. "We have them on our scopes." Preparing to launch. The submarine was deep underwater, invisible to the Vralan sensors. It carried 12 hypersonic missiles, each one capable of traveling at 20 times the speed of sound. The missiles were designed to destroy enemy ships before they could react. "Launch authorization granted," Do-hyun said. "Launching now," Hyun-woo confirmed. The submarine's missile tubes opened. Water rushed in briefly. Then the missiles launched. They broke the surface of the ocean and ignited their engines. Within seconds, they were climbing at incredible speed, leaving trails of fire across the sky. The Vralan ships detected the launches, but they were too slow to respond. The missiles were simply too fast. They streaked upward through the atmosphere and struck their targets while the alien ships were still descending. The first missile hit a Vralan ship in its main engine. The explosion was catastrophic. The ship broke apart, scattering debris across the sky. The second missile struck its target in the command section. That ship went dark immediately, tumbling out of control into the ocean. The third ship tried to turn away, but 2 missiles hit it simultaneously. It exploded in a massive fireball that lit up the sky like a second sun. In orbit, the Vralan fleet watched 3 more ships destroyed. Their commander was in shock. Every time they tried to help, the humans killed them effortlessly. It was like fighting ghosts. The humans were everywhere and nowhere. They struck from impossible distances with weapons the Vralans had never encountered. "Pull back," the fleet commander ordered. "All ships, pull back to maximum safe distance. Do not engage. Do not attempt any more rescues." The Vralan fleet retreated even further, now sitting at the very edge of Earth's gravity well. They could do nothing but watch as their army was hunted down. On the ground, High Prelate Korvath was being transported in a human vehicle. He had been captured when soldiers found him in the wreckage of his command ship. They had not killed him. Instead, they bandaged his wounds and brought him to a secure location. He sat in the back of the vehicle, his hands bound. Across from him sat a human officer who introduced himself as Captain Nari. She looked at him with cold, calculating eyes. You are alive for a reason, Nari said. We want you to tell your empire what happened here. We want them to know exactly what humanity is capable of. Korvath said nothing. He was broken. His pride was gone. His confidence was shattered. In the last 6 hours, we have killed 850,000 of your soldiers. Nari continued. Our casualties total 17. 12 died in vehicle accidents during deployment. 3 died from equipment malfunctions. 2 died from friendly fire. 0 were killed by your forces. She let that sink in. We used 12% of our available military strength in this region, she added. 12%. If we had used everything, your army would have been gone in minutes instead of hours. Korvath finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. What kind of monsters are you? Do me. Nari shook her head. We are not monsters. We are humans. We are survivors. We have fought wars on this planet for 10,000 years. We have learned how to kill efficiently. We have perfected it. You threatened our home. This is the result. The vehicle stopped. They had arrived at a command center. Soldiers opened the door and pulled Korvath out. He was taken to a room with communications equipment. A screen showed Admiral Do-hyun. High Prelate Korvath, Do-hyun said. We are going to send you back to your fleet. You will tell your emperor exactly what happened here. You will tell them that Earth is not to be invaded. If you do this, your remaining soldiers will be allowed to evacuate. If you refuse, we will finish hunting them down. Korvath looked at the screen. He saw no mercy in Do-hyun's eyes, but also no cruelty. Just cold calculation. I will tell them, Korvath said. I will tell them everything. Good, Do-hyun replied. Your shuttle is waiting. As Korvath was led away, Admiral Do-hyun turned to Captain Nari. Make sure he sees the battlefield one more time before he leaves. I want him to remember. The shuttle flew Korvath back toward the original landing zone. Through the window, he saw the desert floor covered with the bodies of his soldiers. He saw the destroyed ships. He saw the craters. He saw what remained of his proud army. He closed his eyes, but the image was burned into his mind forever. This was the cost of underestimating humanity. This was the price of invasion. The hunt continued for 2 more days. By the end, fewer than 50,000 Vrallans remained alive. They were allowed to evacuate to their fleet. The rest were dead, buried in the Australian desert. The Vrallan evacuation ships left Earth's orbit 3 days after the invasion began. They carried the survivors, less than 50,000 soldiers from an army of 1 million. The ships moved slowly, damaged and overcrowded. Inside, the soldiers sat in silence. Many were wounded. All were traumatized. High Prelate Korvath sat alone in a small cabin. His golden armor was gone, replaced by simple medical wrappings. His wounds would heal, but his spirit never would. He had been the pride of the Vrallan Imperium. He had conquered worlds. Now he was a failure, carrying the worst military defeat in Vrallan history. A communication officer entered the cabin. High Prelate, the Emperor demands to speak with you immediately. Korvath nodded slowly. He had been dreading this moment. The screen in his cabin flickered to life, showing the Emperor of the Vrallan Imperium. The Emperor was old, his purple skin marked with scars from countless battles. He wore the crown of their people, a symbol of strength and conquest. Korvath, the Emperor said, his voice cold. Explain this disaster. Explain how you lost nearly our entire invasion force to a species we had never heard of until 6 months ago. Korvath met the Emperor's gaze. Your Majesty, we did not lose. We were destroyed. There is a difference. Speak plainly, the Emperor demanded. Korvath took a breath. The humans do not fight like any species we have ever encountered. They do not believe in honor. They do not fight with energy weapons. They do not engage in close combat. They kill from distances we cannot see. They kill from above. They kill from below. They kill with machines that think for themselves. He activated a holographic display, showing footage recorded during the battle. The Emperor watched in silence as human artillery destroyed Vrallan formations. He saw missiles falling from jets too high to reach. He saw soldiers being cut down by bullets from kilometers away. Their shields do nothing against our weapons, Korvath continued, because they do not use energy. They throw metal. Simple, primitive metal, but they throw it so fast, so accurately, that nothing can stop it. Our armor is useless. Our shields are useless. Our numbers meant nothing. The Emperor leaned forward. You had 1,000,000 soldiers. How many did they have? We never saw their army, Korvath admitted. We saw machines. We saw aircraft. We saw explosions. But we never saw human soldiers until the end, when they hunted survivors. Even then, they wore powered armor that made them stronger than our best warriors. We fought ghosts and demons, Your Majesty, and we lost. The Emperor was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, What are our casualties? 950,000 dead, Korvath said. Most died in the first hour. The rest were hunted down over 3 days. The humans could have killed all of us. They chose to let survivors go. They wanted us to bring this message back to you. What message? That Earth is protected. That humanity will not be conquered. That any species who tries will meet the same fate we did. The Emperor's face showed something rare for a Vrallan leader. Fear. What do they want from us? They want us to leave their space and never return. They want us to tell other species what happened here. They want the galaxy to know what awaits anyone who invades their world. On Earth, the United Nations War Council met in Geneva. Representatives from every nation gathered to discuss what had happened and what came next. President Jiyun stood at the podium, addressing the assembled leaders. The Vrallan invasion has been repelled, she announced. Our casualties were 17 soldiers, none of them killed by enemy action. Their casualties were over 900,000. The remaining Vrallan forces have evacuated Earth's orbit and are returning to their territory. The room erupted in applause, but President Jiyun raised her hand for silence. However, she continued, we must consider what this means for humanity's future. We have revealed our capabilities to the galaxy. Other species now know we exist and that we are a military power. Some will fear us. Some will respect us. Some may seek to test us. We must be ready. Admiral Do-hyun stood and addressed the council. Madam President, if I may. The Vrallans were arrogant. They believed their experience conquering other worlds made them invincible. They did not study Earth. They did not research human history. They did not understand who they were fighting. That was their mistake. He activated a display showing Earth's military assets. We used 12% of our available military strength to destroy their invasion force. We have much more: artillery, missiles, aircraft, ships, satellites, and weapons we have never tested in combat. We have nuclear weapons, antimatter devices, biological agents, all stored and ready if needed. We chose not to use them against the Vrallans because we did not need to. Dr. Hanna spoke next. I have been analyzing Vrallan psychology and culture. They are warriors, but they are also logical. They understand when they have been defeated. High Prelate Korvath will tell his Emperor the truth. The Emperor will make the intelligent decision to avoid Earth. But other species exist in the galaxy. Some may be more aggressive. Some may be more advanced. We must prepare for that possibility. Captain Nari added, the Vrallans fight with honor and ritual. But there may be species who do not. Species who would bombard us from orbit, or use biological weapons, or attack in ways we have not anticipated. Our victory today was complete. But it was against an enemy who fought in a predictable way. We must not become arrogant ourselves. President Jiyun nodded. Then we continue to build our defenses. We continue to prepare. And we send a message to the galaxy that Earth welcomes peaceful contact, but will destroy anyone who threatens us. Admiral Do-hyun, you will craft this message. Several weeks later, the message was ready. It was broadcast on every frequency humanity could generate. It was aimed at every star system within 100 light-years. The message was simple and clear. Admiral Do-hyun spoke to the galaxy. To any species that can hear this transmission, I am Admiral Do Hyun of the United Earth Defense Forces. Recently, the Vralin Imperium attempted to invade our world. They came with 1 million soldiers and 400 warships. They believed they would conquer us easily. They were wrong. Images played alongside his words. Footage of the battle. Footage of Vralin soldiers being destroyed by human weapons. Footage of their ships burning in orbit. The Vralin invasion force was eliminated in 72 hours. We used a fraction of our military capability to achieve this. We offer this information not as a threat, but as a fact. Earth is protected. Humanity is strong. We are willing to engage in peaceful contact with other species. We are willing to trade, to share knowledge, to build relationships. But we will not be conquered. We will not be enslaved. We will not be threatened. He paused, letting the words sink in. Any species that comes to Earth with peaceful intentions will be welcomed. Any species that comes with hostile intentions will be destroyed. This is not a warning. This is a promise. We have shown what we can do. Do not make us show you again. The transmission ended. It spread through space at the speed of light, carrying humanity's message to the stars. Months later, in a classroom on the Vralin homeworld, Sergeant Tae-young stood before a group of young Vralin military officers. He had been invited to teach a course on human military tactics. It was part of the peace agreement. The Vralins wanted to understand what had happened. They wanted to learn. The students looked at him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Tae-young was not in his combat armor. He wore a simple military uniform. He looked ordinary. But the students knew what he had done. They knew he was one of the soldiers who had hunted their people. Let me tell you about human warfare, Tae-young began. We do not fight for honor. We do not fight for glory. We fight to survive. And we have been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We have had countless wars. We have killed billions of our own kind, perfecting the art of war. By the time you came to Earth, we knew every possible way to kill efficiently. He showed them images of human history. Ancient battles with spears and swords. Medieval sieges with catapults. Modern wars with tanks and aircraft. Nuclear explosions that could destroy entire cities. We never stopped innovating, Tae-young continued. Every generation found new ways to kill. Better weapons. Better tactics. Better strategies. When you came to Earth with your energy blades and your honor codes, you were fighting an enemy that abandoned honor thousands of years ago. We fight to win. Nothing else matters. One student raised his hand. But you let some of us live. You allowed us to evacuate. If you only fight to win, why show mercy? Tae-young smiled slightly. Because we are not monsters. We kill when we must. We show mercy when we can. You were defeated. There was no point in killing everyone. We let survivors go so they could tell others what happened, so that other species would think twice before invading Earth. Mercy was a tactical decision. Another student asked, could we ever defeat you? If we studied your tactics, if we built similar weapons, could we win? Possibly, Tae-young admitted. If you spent 1,000 years studying war the way we have, if you abandoned your honor codes and fought the way we do, if you were willing to sacrifice everything for victory, but then you would no longer be Vralins. You would become like us, and I do not think you want that. The class fell silent. They understood. Humanity's strength came from their willingness to do whatever was necessary to survive. It came from thousands of years of brutal evolution. It came from a culture that celebrated warriors not for honor, but for effectiveness. Remember this lesson, Tae-young said quietly. Your people fought with honor. They were brave. They followed their traditions. But they lost because they expected us to fight the same way. The greatest mistake you can make in war is to assume your enemy thinks like you do. We do not. We never will. The class ended. The students left, subdued and thoughtful. Tae-young remained in the classroom for a moment. looking out the window at the Vralon city beyond. It was beautiful, built with artistic grace. So different from Earth's practical, functional cities. He thought about the battle. About the 950,000 Vralon soldiers who had died. About how easy it had been. About how humanity's weapons had torn through them like they were nothing. He felt no guilt. They had come to conquer Earth. They had threatened his home. He had done his duty. But he felt no joy either. Just acceptance. This was what humanity did. This was what they were good at. War. Back on Earth, Admiral Do-hyun sat in his office, reviewing reports. 6 alien species had made contact in the months since the battle. All of them came peacefully. All of them were careful to show respect. Word had spread through the galaxy. Earth was not to be threatened. Captain Nari entered his office. Admiral, we have received a request from the Keltharian Confederation. They want to establish trade relations. They are offering advanced medical technology in exchange for information about our defensive systems. Decline the military information, Do-hyun said, but accept the medical technology. Let them know we are willing to trade peacefully. Send them the standard message. Friendship welcomed. Threats will be destroyed. Yes, sir, Nari replied. She paused. Sir, do you think the Vralans will try again someday? Do-hyun shook his head. No. They learned their lesson. They will tell their children and their children's children about the day they marched 1 million soldiers into a shooting gallery. They will never make that mistake again. And neither will anyone else who hears the story. He looked out the window at the earth below, peaceful and blue. We did not choose to be warriors, but we are good at it. And now the galaxy knows. That is enough. The story of the Vralon invasion became legend. Throughout the galaxy, species told tales of the humans who killed from beyond sight, of the army that was destroyed in hours, of the shooting gallery in the desert, and they remembered the lesson: never march on Earth.